Hello everyone, how are you? Hope you're well. Hope you're enjoying the summer for those of us in the Western Hemisphere. For those of us in the United Kingdom, it's been really, really hot. Yeah, I'm boiling. I am really, really hot. But I've chosen not to complain because I don't want to be the typical Brit who's always complaining about the weather. For all of us moaning about the heat now, give us 6 weeks and we'll start moaning about how cold it is. So let's just try to enjoy bits of it while we can. But yeah, it's been very, very hot. It's also very humid as well. So sometimes it makes it very uncomfortable for sleeping. But I'm choosing to look on the bright side of it. So today's book review is going to be slightly different. And that's because I'm going to be doing a review of children's books. Yeah, children's books. But the children's books I'm going to be doing a review of are not just books that they're suitable for children of most ages. So you can buy them for children younger than 5 and read it to them, and then you can also buy it for children that are a bit older. My kids are a bit older, and we still have it in our bookshelf. And I think it's a book that every person should have in their bookshelf. So I've got two. They're actually two, and they're more or less similar in the sense that they're kind of talking about the same thing. And I will show you the books. So they're actually both written or compiled. It's a compilation of stories by the same author. So the first one is Little Leaders, Bold Women in Black History. So this book was one that myself and my children, so I take my children to the library when they were open before COVID, and we'll pick out books. So one day we went to the library and we saw this book, and it was one of the books that we picked out. And we got home, and I must say I was even more excited about it than my daughter, because obviously it had a compilation of women that, we talk about the women that we know in history, in Black history. But then it also talked about a couple of other women that we don't really hear a lot about. So when we took it back to the library, I decided that this is a book that we must have in our own personal library. So we now have it in our library. It was out of stock for quite a while, but it's back in stock now. And my daughter is actually reading it this month as part of a book club. Yes, my daughter is in a book club as well. Not of her doing, but of my doing. And the other one is Little Leaders, Exceptional Men in Black History. So it's the male equivalent of the other book as well, and it's written by the same person called Vashti Harrison. So as usual, I am going to read some stories. I'm going to read an excerpt from the book. And one thing I really love about this book, I don't know if I've ever shared this while I've done on any of these video reviews, but I love stories. And if you look on my Instagram profile, you will see that I'm a lover of words, I'm a lover of stories. I'm intrigued by the human story. I'm very, very, I'm a firm believer in the fact that our experiences and things that we come about, things we're exposed to, make us who we are. So autobiographies or biographies or the stories of people's lives is one of my favorite genres. So even though this is a children's book, I actually am also quite fascinated by it. So it's about a lot of stories about people that you might not have even known. So I'm going to read a story of a woman and also a story of a man who might not be quite popular, and then I'll just tell you what I learned from their life. So I'm reading from page 20 of Little Leaders, Bold Women in Black History. And it's page 20, Alma Woodsie Thomas, 1891 to 1978. So again, I didn't even know about her, but her story is quite intriguing. Born in Columbus, Georgia, Alma grew up in a home surrounded by lush landscapes and beautiful plants. In her youth, Alma showed promise in architecture, but was truly in love with art. She said that when she walked into her first art classroom in high school, it felt like entering heaven. She enjoyed working with children and pursued a career as a nursery school teacher. She taught art for several years before attending Howard University. She was the first student in Howard's brand new art department, whose founder encouraged her to paint full-time. Upon graduation, though, she returned to her first love, education. She devoted her life to children, teaching at Shaw Junior High School for 36 years. She continued painting and pursued her master's degree in art education at Columbia University in New York City during her summers off. She's most often associated with a group of artists belonging to the color-filled movement, painters who worked only with large shapes or fields of color to express themselves. When she retired from teaching in 1960, Alma concentrated on painting full-time. She had a big art show at Howard University for which she produced something totally different from anything she had done before. Inspired by nature, she created paintings with tiny bright rectangles and repeating shapes. It became her signature style. In 1972, when she was 80 years old, Alma's paintings were exhibited at the Whitney Museum of American Art. This was the first ever solo exhibition of an African American woman artist at one of America's most important art museums. Alma showed the importance of being dedicated to the thing you love and having the patience to let it grow. In 1972, when she was 80 years old, that's such a fantastic story. 80 years old, that was the time she had her first exhibition. And that story just tells me that you're never too old to still pursue your dreams. You're never too old to accomplish stuff. As long as you're still alive, there is something in every one of us. So that story really encouraged me. And even though it seems like not quite extraordinary, because when you want to talk about things, you always want to talk about extraordinary people. But for me, that story it was something that she loved as a child. She nurtured it. Even though she veered into education, it was still something that she pursued. It was still something that she still went after. So if there's a dream, there's a passion, there's something in you that you actually love, keep at it. Keep at it. Don't think, oh, I'm too old, this is never going to happen anymore. Just keep at it. And you never know how those doors will open or how the opportunity will come out for you to be able to express all that God has deposited in you. So yeah, that's that story of Alma, and I absolutely loved it. And so I'm going to read another story from Little Leaders, Exceptional Men in Black History. So I'm reading the story from page 32, and the name of the person I'm reading is Charles R. Drew, 1904 to 1950, and he was a surgeon. Although he was a bright student, Charles didn't have perfect marks or always know exactly what he wanted to do. Two experiences got him interested in medicine: an injury on the football field and his sister's tuberculosis. Afterwards, he became passionate about medicine and understanding how the body worked. He went to Montreal to study at the McGill University Faculty of Medicine. The Canadian university had a better reputation than most in the United States for its treatment of minority students. He graduated second in his class of 137. During his surgical residency, working with bacteriologist John Bertie, Charles became interested in transfusion medicine, the transference of blood and blood products. Through his research, Charles found that if he separated blood from the plasma, the liquid portion of blood without the blood cells, it lasted much longer, making it possible for blood to be stored. It could be preserved and shipped overseas, even taken out to the battlefield. In 1940, after Britain was attacked by Nazi Germany, Charles was asked to lead a special medical effort called Blood for Britain. Months before the United States entered the Second World War, Charles became assistant director of a new national blood bank system for the American Red Cross. They collected more than 10,000 pounds of blood for the war effort. The military, however, decreed that blood taken from African American donors had to be segregated from whites' blood and couldn't be transfused into white people. Blood has no racial characteristics, so Charles knew that this was wrong, both scientifically and morally. He spoke up, and in 1941 he resigned from his job. He returned to his former employer, Howard University, and became chief of surgery at his Freedmen's Hospital. He spent the next 9 years mentoring students and advocating for the education and inclusion of African Americans in medicine. Charles' discoveries were responsible for countless lives being saved and transformed the medical field forever. He was a pioneer who took a stand for what was right. Another fascinating story. You can see I'm so excited because, as I said, there's so many stories out there of people who did exceptional things that we never hear about, and especially people of Afro-Caribbean descent, or people who are originally originated from Africa. He was one of the first people who discovered. You know what it is? You know how many millions of lives and impacts that he has made from that discovery, where we can now actually transport blood and have blood transfusions. If you've I had to have a blood transfusion when I had my daughter. So it's fascinating to read how all of these discoveries and things came to be. And also what was fascinating for me for the story as well was not just the fact that he discovered that, but also the fact that he was a person of integrity and values who, despite having to lose something, which is his job, he still decided to stand for what he believed in, and had to resign his job when he came across injustice and discrimination. So they're very, very fascinating books. I'm going to take it one more time. I'll put the pictures as well on my video, but I think they're wonderful, wonderful stories that you not just, so when the first time we read it, I think I read it more than my daughter. You can read it with your children and, you know, get them to talk about the stories, get them to bring out the lessons from the stories. And they're also lessons. And what I've discovered is that when I do things with my children, when I read with my children, I also learn. They learn and I also learn. So yeah, that is my video review for today. Please let me know if you enjoyed it. This particular one, I am biased. I'm going to tell you to go buy the books for your children. If you've got children, or if you don't have children, buy it for your nieces, your nephews. And even if you don't have nieces and nephews, I actually think that some of us adults can actually learn from the books as well. So thank you very much for watching, and do let me know in the comments if you enjoyed today's video review. I'm also going to be putting this on YouTube as well. Thank you very much and have a lovely, lovely weekend. Bye bye.